These are the Nintendo Switch 2's most required features. As we approach the end of the Nintendo Switch, questions and leaks about Nintendo's newest home console have been spreading, talking about the specs of the system, when it will be released, and what exciting new games we'll be able to play on it. But overall, we know very little about this thing's existence, as Nintendo has only told us that this new hardware will be a successor for the Switch, which isn't surprising at all that they're staying with the Nintendo Switch spirit. It's made them billions of dollars throughout the last several years, but it's starting to show its age. As new hardware releases, the Nintendo Switch has a harder time running these beefier titles, and it's looking like we'll be seeing this new Nintendo Switch console within the next year or so. So it has me thinking, what features do I personally want to come from this new hardware? Honestly, the Nintendo Switch itself has already grown to be one of my favorites of all time, the library standing behind it with tons of original first and third party games. Truth is, a lot of my improvements are just making the concept of the Nintendo Switch even better. Take what already exists and continue to build on it, making it better than ever before. So I thought of 10 different features that I would absolutely adore on the Nintendo Switch 2. Ones that will make this new system feel like a true step in the right direction. But before I get into it though, let me know what you want to see from the Nintendo Switch 2. Certain features or certain games, or maybe you have something completely original that you want to share. Let me know in the comment section below. And while you're down there, please be sure to hit that like button. It helps out the channel in a big way and I very much appreciate it. But let's jump into it. These are my 10 most required features for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Here we go!
I absolutely need an Ethernet port built within the dock from day one. So fortunately for this one, it seems like that we'll actually be getting it down the line, as the Nintendo Switch OLED, the newest version of the current Switch, has an Ethernet port built into the dock. I mention this because it is very common for Nintendo to introduce a feature for one version, then remove it for the very next. As I think about when they removed the Game Boy Advance slot from the DS when they created the DS Lite. But the Ethernet port has got to be something that they support from the very beginning. Games are getting bigger and downloading these things through a wireless connection just takes way too long. On my current Nintendo Switch, I bought one of those Ethernet adapters that you can connect to the USB ports on the console. Funny enough, I've actually had this connection since back in the Wii U days, because I was not trying to be one of those people who lagged up a storm when playing online. But I would just love it if it was just built into the console instead of needing a third-party item. If the OLED can do it, I'm hoping that the Switch 2 can jump right out of the gate with the same feature.
Okie dokie!
Now, this is a feature that I want pulled directly from the PlayStation 5. Imagine you're wanting to download a game and the download just takes forever. On the PlayStation 5, you're able to play other games while you wait for it to finish, which is great as it makes the wait for the download feel so much faster. Boot up a game of Fortnite or Multiverses or Final Fantasy, whatever scratches that itch. The download might be slower, but it still keeps it going. On the Nintendo Switch, you cannot play games with online support while a download is running, as when booting up an online game like Splatoon or Super Smash Bros. Will cause the system to pause the download. And the only way to get it to keep going is by closing the game and just waiting for that download. And like I said earlier, Wi-Fi downloads on this handheld can take hours. It's a small thing that I would absolutely adore. The ability to keep playing online games while downloading games from the online. The Switch likely has a system in play that makes it so that the download doesn't make the game slow down, hence why they completely pause downloads automatically when it happens. But this is the future. I absolutely want to be able to keep playing games while things download in the background.
Let's go!
I would also love it if we just completely got rid of friend codes. I'm honestly surprised that they kept this system up and running throughout the last few years, as the friend code system requires you to input your friend's several digit code in order to add them. Considering friend codes have existed since the Nintendo Wii, it's impressive that Nintendo hasn't changed their minds on it. I mean, except for the Wii U, you were able to have a full-blown username for friends to add, just like every other major gaming platform out there. Just allow me to share my username with friends and make adding that way. It's such a hassle to have to go through your Switch and read off those numbers every time you want to add someone new. Here's my username. Oh, you sent me a friend request? That's great. And we're done. I understand friend codes were introduced to make it harder for younger folks to add strangers online, but with internet communication so common in this era, it's time for Nintendo to leave this old method behind.
Oh yeah!
Let me be able to send you an invite on the hardware. Another pretty archaic feature missing from the Nintendo Switch is the ability for simple invites. Let's say I'm playing a game like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you want to play with a friend real quick, in order to join my game, they'll have to boot up the games themselves. Then they'll need to find my name and hopefully be able to join the lobby if it isn't full. Like, why is it so hard for me to just be able to send a friend an invite? Like, hey, here's my game and here's a direct way for you to be able to join it. Funny enough, certain games on the Nintendo Switch do have an invite feature, but the feature itself has got to be built into the game beforehand. What I'm asking for is the ability to invite people directly from the console itself. Allow me to go through my friends list and send invites directly to my friends from their username. There's no need for these extra loops anymore and would overall make the online matchmaking experience so much smoother.
Woohoo!
Of course, the biggest request for basically every Nintendo Switch owner is making it so that the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with my Switch 1 collection. I have dozens of games that I'd like to continue playing for several years. The Nintendo Switch's library is unlike anything we've ever seen from Nintendo. There's so much variety jumping from genre to genre that there's something here for everyone. So when jumping into a Switch 2, players are not eager to have all their games sitting there collecting dust. I'm hoping that the transition to the next hardware will be as seamless as possible. To bring up the PlayStation 5 again, I was absolutely ecstatic to see all of my old PS4 games working, and I was able to bring over all of my old digital library as well. My PS5 is essentially my PS4 with a bit more power, and honestly, that's all I'm really asking for with the Nintendo Switch 2. Make that transition to the next generation seamless, and you'll have so many good games to choose from. I'm hoping it's for both physical and digital games as well, and I know physical games might have a harder time depending on what they do with the cartridges this time around, but it would be a huge win to play all of my older Nintendo Switch games right here.
Yeah!
This also brings me to third-party support, as the Nintendo Switch was the generation that brought third-party support back to Nintendo. You can play your plethora of Mario and Zelda games, but now there's also Skyrim and Doom and The Witcher and Persona and Nier and so many games. But there's one trend with third-party games that should come to a close with the Nintendo Switch 2. This has become much more apparent in the Switch's later years. So you know the feeling of when you're watching a Nintendo Direct and you see a big third-party game is coming to the platform, and then you look at the game and the resolution is just super crunchy, the game looks a bit blurry and the graphics just start to muddy together, and the performance of the game leaves a lot to be desired. Of course, a lot of this blame can be put on the hardware of the Nintendo Switch, as it's akin to a PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in terms of power. So these ports have had a lot of sacrifices done to them to get them to run. Now with a beefed up new Nintendo Switch, I'm hoping this era of muddy third-party games is over. I like to use Fortnite as an example, a game that I absolutely adore and mainly play on my PlayStation or PC. And trust me, I would love to play it on my Nintendo Switch, but doing this puts me at a massive disadvantage. The game map doesn't load, it's often incredibly laggy, and is truly a painful experience on the Switch. But when I try to imagine Fortnite running on the Switch 2, all of my fears go away. I'd love to live in a world where I can play the game on handheld mode and not want to die because of how badly it runs. Third parties will not have the power to make their games run much better. Maybe not to the point of the Xbox Series X or PS5, but enough to where the games don't look like a smear on my screen. It's time to put the muddy third-party era in the past. Woohoo! How are we still several generations with consoles with online support and custom accounts, but Nintendo still hasn't added a feature for achievements towards their games? I feel like this has been in every Nintendo fan's request since before the Wii U was even announced. With basically every other storefront, you're given a handful of tasks to complete within the game to give your account a trophy of some sort. These usually rank on how hard it is to get them, but overall give players a reason to go back to some of these older games. These rewards don't really do anything but give something for players to do to extend their playtime. And Nintendo games are honestly super primed for something like this. Super Mario Odyssey could have trophies around collecting every moon, defeating Bowser, or maybe even something silly like reaching the very top of the level. But just something to reward players for going that extra step. And your friends should be able to see your hard work and achievements on your profile, as a method to flex to all the other gamers all the hard work you put in. And I think this should be available on all Nintendo's games, including the older ones released on Nintendo Switch Online. I know a lot of people would jump back into the original Super Mario Bros. On NES if it meant that they could add new trophies to their collection. Not only that, but I think trophies should give players special rewards, which leads me to my next point.
Let's go!
The Nintendo Switch lacks any form of personality when it comes to customization. The fact that we've gone almost the entire generation with only white and black themes is an absolute crime. I think the trophy system should be tied with unlocking certain special cosmetics for your hardware, like earning a trophy can give you some platinum points. Currently, you can earn platinum points by completing certain challenges on Nintendo Switch Online. Quests like play Donkey Kong on NES or play a game that offers online play. These will give you platinum points that you can use to purchase character icons and backgrounds, with each ranging from 10 platinum points to more. What if they took this method to an entirely new level, allowing platinum points to create your own profile on the platform, where you can share your backgrounds, clips, profile icons, and so much more. The more games you play, the more platinum points you unlock, the more decked out your profile is. I think it's a great way for players to unlock themes to change the skins for their profiles, giving more weight to the worth of these platinum points. I've just used them to give myself a Paper Mario icon on the Nintendo Switch, but that's it. I hope they give me much more of a use in the next platform.
Okay!
Now, this is one that is something that I didn't know I needed up until I got my PlayStation 5. While the PlayStation 5 controller has tons of new additions like adaptive triggers, motion controls, a built-in mic and speaker, the number one best thing that they added to this controller that I absolutely need Nintendo to adopt is the headphone jack on Pro controllers. The headphone jack on the PlayStation 5 has been such a game changer in my immersion of the game, completely removing the TV from the sound, playing it only in my head so I'm not distracting anyone. And get yourself a good pair of headphones, and damn, that audio is so dynamic I sometimes feel like I'm a part of the game. I'm grateful that there's also an option for Bluetooth support, but a lot of the best headphones that I own are wired, and connecting them this way just really locks me into the game. One of my favorite guilty pleasures is going into multiplayer games, muting the music, and playing my own stuff through Spotify. That way I can hear my own custom music and still hear all of the useful sound cues within the game. The PlayStation also automatically mixes this audio so one sound isn't overpowering the other. It's really a magical buff that they added in this new generation, so please add a headphone jack to the next Pro controller of the next platform at least. I would absolutely love to lock myself away into a Zelda game by plugging my headphones right into the controller. An absolutely goated feature.
Oh yeah!
I also would adore for Nintendo to bring back two major features from the DS era of gaming, and that's StreetPass and Download Play. Download Play originated on the Nintendo DS and allowed players to play together even when someone didn't own the game. Back in the day, if one of you owned a copy of Mario Kart DS, you could throw up a lobby so friends without a copy of the game can join up, giving kind of a demo version of the game so that players can join in. Download Play players were locked into playing as Shy Guy, and there were only a handful of courses available. But did you think any of that mattered? We turned a single copy of Mario Kart DS into a full-blown 8-man party on the jump. It was like magic. As for StreetPass, it allowed you to connect with other 3DS users as you passed them on the street, exchanging profile information and often sharing special collectible items like puzzle pieces. It was so exciting to see that little green light whenever I opened my 3DS after a long walk. Both of these features were pretty dope for their time, but were completely forgotten when it came to the Nintendo Switch. I definitely think they should bring them back, especially with the Switch 2 continuing to be another hybrid console. Download Play especially, since it could open up the world of other games to players who might not have picked them up just yet. Or it can help for that friend who left his copy of Mario Kart 8 at home. As for StreetPass, there's so many new games that I would love to collect puzzles for. Like, imagine building murals for Metroid Dread, Mario Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom. So many fun games to choose from. Still, more ways to play and share your gaming experiences is always up there for me. But yes, these are my 10 most required features, as I feel these features will improve on what the Nintendo Switch has already established. I'm not someone who is too peculiar about Nintendo running their games at 4K, 60 FPS, but if we can enter a generation where the games run at a stable frame rate without drops or complete game-breaking glitches, then we are good to go. The foundation left behind by the Switch is going to be one that Nintendo continues to build on for years to come. Because at the end of the day, it's all focused on making sure we get the best games possible. As long as we get our Marios and our Zeldas and our Pokemans, we're gonna be just fine. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and stay awesome.